Hello, welcome to another instalment of Savva Talks Spurs. This show will be 60 minutes and not a minute longer. There are no 5-hour shows today. There's no 3-hour shows. And I am unfortunately streaming from South London and not New York. Before we talk football, let me introduce Marlon from the Hotspur Hood. Marlon, my friend, how are you? How's it going?
I am good. Especially, I know we're going to get into it, but of course I'm in a good mood today. I've walked into work with my head held high and be like, yeah. So I can imagine all Spurs fans have done today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we'll get into it, but look. Before we do, talk to me about your show. Talk to me about the Hotspur Hood.
Yes.
What's going on? How can people listen?
So yeah, there's a channel called the Hotspur Hood. It's run by a guy called Tommy. His name goes under the name Tommy Talks Ball. There's me, him, and Chris. So Tommy does a preview show on a Friday. He does a review on a Sunday of the games. Chris does a Monday night show about 9 o'clock on his channel, and then I do one-to-one interviews after the game, usually about 7:30, and it'll always be on the day of the game and at 10 o'clock. And I do about 4 interviews, one-on-one with people, and get individual views on how the game went. And yeah, it's working like a charm. You do get some contrasting people, but it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, if you're ever on, subscribe to Tommy Talks Ball. It's a really good channel. You've got different content on there. It's not the same. And we've got different people, so you won't get the same faces week in, week out. But as always,
sure.
Make sure you smash on like Savva as well, because he's a good guy.
Listen, they'll have you believe or not, so it's fine. It's fine. I can handle that. I mean, Marlon, look, let's talk. Look, we're here to talk Tottenham Hotspur, right? I titled this show with, well, that was easy. I don't know about you. Going into this North London derby, I didn't feel nervous. It kind of felt like this wasn't the main game.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It kind of felt like all Spurs fans kind of agreed we were going to win it.
Yeah.
Most Arsenal fans I spoke to were going, "Oh, we think we're going to get slapped."
Yeah.
And other than the first 5-6 minutes, I'm told, because I missed the first 5-6 minutes because I was landing. We dominated from start to finish, right? Is that how you see it, or have you got a different take?
So for me, I saw everyone. I was getting a bit nervous with everyone being so confident, and the reason why I was getting nervous was because it is still Spurs Arsenal. But actually, when you think about it on paper, we are better than them, man for man, and everything like that. We are better than them, and I could see why people were a bit confident. But the one thing that worried me wasn't Arsenal. Was Spurs. It was what Spurs team, what were they going to do? And especially, I knew the atmosphere was going to be electric. But as the game, like the first 5 minutes, Arsenal came at us, but it was the way we controlled it. And it wasn't like it was nervous. I wasn't on the back of my seat going, "Oh, I'm worried about this." It was more the case of, when are we going to come out of the traps? And as soon as we did that, game was dead. No matter what Arsenal fans want to think, no matter who they want to blame, it was over. Once we came out of the traps, they couldn't handle it.
So Marlon, I'm going to ask you a question before we dig deeper into the game and how it all planned out. Do you know what? Look, a couple of weeks ago, let's be fair, for the last 3-4 months, I have said, and I've been open about this, that I truly believe that whilst I didn't think top 4 would have been not getting top 4 would have been failure at the beginning of the season, I truly believe if we do not get top 4, it's been a failure. Now, the reason I say that is purely because if that Arsenal team, right, that shambles of an Arsenal team finishes above us, I don't know what my beliefs will be anymore in football. Did you see what I mean, Marlon?
I don't know, and I completely get and I completely understand what you're saying, but I look at it completely different, and I completely understand, because what you're saying is, considering how this season has panned out, we should be getting top 4, considering our squad is way better than Arsenal's. But there's so many factors into it that you kind of have to go, it's probably been the most inconsistent thing, and even now Chelsea are rolling into that, from anything from 3rd to 18th. It's been completely inconsistent. The only teams that have been consistent are Liverpool, City, Watford, and Norwich. Literally. For me, I'm in a positive place with it. I'm like, you know what? If we finish fifth and Arsenal finish fourth, I personally think that attracting players won't be any different for us. I think
Right.
it might. I think it's more of a case of I looked at it yesterday and I went, if you're a player and the Arsenal make Champions League, and you're a defender, say you're a defender, and Tottenham and Arsenal came in for you,
Yeah.
over the next 12 months, who do you really want to work for, Conte or Arteta? And that's what I'm thinking. I'm not looking at it as in Champions League football is the pool. Unless you're going to Liverpool or Man City, you're not really competing in the Champions League, are you? Really, you're not. None of us are expected to win it.
Yeah,
so if
true.
you're just playing at the top stage, but actually, when you look at it, which manager are you more likely to win something with in the next 12 months? I know it's the Spurs factor, and we're not expected to win anything. But actually, when you look at it, if Conte does stay, if Conte's there in August, and you're talking to Conte, and you're looking at it as a player, he's going to sit there be telling you, I'm going to make Champions League next year. Don't worry, you'll be playing on the big stage, but also I'm going to be competing for the league. And would you as a player go, no? You just look at his record and you go, you've seen what he's done with a squad. Let's be honest, that we all thought was going to finish below Man United, West Ham, Leicester. These are all the teams we were meant to be finishing below because we just weren't good enough. And he's managed to get us in the conversation. But Arteta, at the same time, has done, and I hate saying it, has done a very good job at Arsenal to be even getting this far as well.
Yeah.
And that we can't deny that, as you know, but they've had the luck of the draw. They got knocked out of the FA Cup early. You know, they got knocked out of the League Cup early. They've had pretty much one game a week. And if you've got time to prepare your players a week in advance, it's gonna work. But
do you think there's an element, Marlon? I mean, look, for me, I do agree. Look, everyone knows that my worry has always been not whether we get Champions League or Europa League. My worry is always, in years gone by, that metric has not changed our approach in the transfer market, right? And it's never been that we've gone, oh my God, we've got Champions League. Oh my God, we're seeing Bruno Fernandes, Skriniar, blah. That's not happened. So I was coming at it more from the point of, I'm watching Arsenal, and Arsenal they've been getting results without playing well. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. You have to do what you have to do. But when you watch this Arsenal team, when you see the friction in and amongst that Arsenal fan base with the 50% of them like Arteta, 50% of them, even though he might get them Champions League, want him out. For us to finish behind that team with the likes of Son and Kane, I say the likes of, with Son and Kane, right? With what have they got between them? 40, just shy of 40 league goals. Yeah. Again, with those two, for me, that would be failure. Purely forget top four, finishing behind that Arsenal team for me is tragic because they have been awful. Let me lead up to my main point here, Marlon. For me, let's go into this. So before we'll go back to the game in a minute. Can you see whether we get top four, whether we get Europa League? Is Antonio Conte, and I hate this word, but is he going to be backed? And do you expect to see a difference in our transfer policy? Or are we going to keep signing Brian Hills, Papa Sarrs, Gallinis, Royals? What do you think?
So, personally, I think he will be backed. I think there is a plan this summer for him to be backed. And when I say backed, I'm not expecting £100 million signings. I'm expecting Conte signings. I'm expecting him to address the positions. Him and Paratici have addressed the positions already, and they'll be going for them players in the summer. And I expect the outgoings to be done. And the reason why I'm saying that is because something we saw in January was Lo Celso, Ndombele, Ali, all of the players that we all said needed to go were all shipped out. No matter if it was loan or not, they were all gone. The only person that might have to come back is Ndombele. I reckon Lo Celso's gone. He's done so well at Villarreal. I think another club will come in for him in Spain, even if it's not Villarreal that can afford him. But I believe Conte will be backed. It's just how strong Spurs will do it. And I think Levy has been burnt before. Let's be honest. When we sold Gareth Bale, he went all out. And that he's always been cautious since then. And I'm not going to sit there and say he's done great because he hasn't. There's some negotiations where I think he's just completely messed up. Yeah. But for me, I think he can see if Conte can do good with this squad
Right.
and they need upgrading,
You're right.
this is your time. It's now or never. And even with fans, it's like you look at us Spurs fans, we're looking at it as if Conte can just do this, like we saw Nuno and what he done, and we've seen just 2 players come in January, and look at the impact they've made on this squad already.
Yeah,
and they didn't cost an arm and a leg.
I'll tell you what, Marlon. I mean, that brings us nicely to this point by True Blue, which I can't disagree with. He said, Savva, we're doing all of this without proper wing backs. Get Conte some wing backs, and I think we can really challenge. Now, listen, I can't agree with that more, Marlon. I mean, even watching the game yesterday, when you watch how many times this system under Conte, our wing backs see a phenomenal amount of the football.
Yes.
And bless them, as much as I think Sessegnon and Royal try, 90% of our moves, I think, break down when one of those gets it because the pass isn't good enough or the cross isn't good enough or whatever. Do you believe that is, for Spurs in the summer, forget centre-halves, forget centre-mid, is getting 2 wing-backs of real quality? Would that be your number one goal in this window? I'm not saying we don't buy anything else, but...
No. I would... So... If you'd asked me about 3-4 weeks ago, I would have probably said yes. We definitely need something on the left side. And the reason why I say that, because Cess yesterday, and there was times he would make the run, but no one would find him. And I think it's more down to he's too injury prone. And I think he could be if he was to stay fit for the whole season, I think Conte would get the best out of him. But the problem is, I don't think we're going to get more than 10 or 12 games out of him. So and Reguilon just looks like he's going to be going back to either Real Madrid or Barcelona. He's just being linked back to Spain. So
Can I ask you why, Marlon? On the Sessegnon point, let me ask you why. So listen, and I'm a firm believer. It's okay for us to disagree, right?
Oh, of course.
Right. For me, and again, look, everyone, this is just me, Richard Savva. I'm nobody. I watch Sessegnon and I just see. And this is what I've always seen. Yes, 4 years ago, whatever it was, he scored 15 or 16 goals in the Championship as they got promoted. For me, though, as an actual footballer, I just don't see enough. I don't see enough physical capability. I don't see a good enough touch. I don't see his ability to take a man on. And I think you can get in behind him easily. So I'm just interested to know, for someone that's saying, yeah, if he stays fit, we'll get the best out of him. What's his attributes in your opinion?
So I'm a firm believer if we can get him, because the last 2 games I've noticed that Conte has slightly changed his position. He's played him he played him straight up against Trent against Liverpool, and he did the same last night. And I'm going down to the goal we scored against Liverpool. Look where Cess was, and that's where he's more effective.
Yep.
And then again, when Son missed the chance to make it 4-0, again, it was in a position where Cess is getting more joy. Defensively, I think he can do a lot more. And I get everyone wants him to take on players and he's weak like that. But it's just more a case of I wouldn't be able to sit there and tell you guys he's a Champions League quality player. But is he someone that can fit into the Conte system? I think yes, and I think that's the reason why because if we looked at it, we all said Reguilon's the better player than Cess at the beginning of the season. But you look at it, every chance that Conte has got the chance to pick one of those 2, he's always gone with Cess.
That is true.
And I've said this to people, even though Reguilon's the better player, Reguilon can't put in crosses either. He's final balls terrible half time, but he's the better one out of all the 4 wing backs, which you kind of look at going,
doesn't say a lot, does it?
Doesn't say a lot.
When I look at Serge Reguilon, I always feel that he's a lot of I mean, what did my aunt used to say? He's all fart and no shit. He used to say. I just feel he runs a lot, right? Listen, he's got a great little engine. He's really pacey, but sometimes I feel that might be to his detriment. He's one of these players that, because he's so quick, he hasn't often thought 2 steps ahead as to, right, when I do receive this ball, right, what am I doing with it? And then him and Reguilon are both the same. They both want to cut in.
Yes.
What I want to see, and I'm sure what you want to see and what 95, 99, 100% of Spurs fans want to see, is you want that Rose and Walker in their prime, where not only were they good defensively, but they would run at their man.
Yeah.
And it would scare people. You know, the way that Andy Robertson, he not only very good defensively, but you know he's going to be overlapping. You know he'll take his man on, get a cross in. Okay, let's quickly go back to the Arsenal game. Let's not let's not gloss over what was a very good win. Look, even for me, for someone who's really harsh and really high standards and perceived as negative, I can't find any negatives from yesterday. I thought we were dominant throughout.
This is a moment. Everyone, can you hit Savva's being positive, people?
I know. We're going to win the league. We're going to win the league, Marlon.
Okay.
But what I'm going to do is I am going to call out some other podcasts, and I'm not going to say their names, but I watched a few last night when I finally got home and got into bed about midnight. I was watching some podcasts. Some were live, some were reruns, and I saw a lot of people going, "Oh, really disappointed we didn't go for the kill. Really disappointed we took our foot off the gas. Oh my God, he disrespected Hong Min's son because he took him off with 17 or 18 minutes to go." And I just sat there and I thought to myself, now me, I'm a harsh critic. And if I'm looking at it going, yeah, I've got nothing to complain about tonight. Are we just creating issues for topic's sake if we are going to complain about beating Arsenal 3-0 without even having to really ever get into third gear?
Look, I know the Sun incident. Well, let's look at it like this. There is a game Sunday, and Conte basically thought, I need to save these guys for Sunday. And let's be honest, we need Son against Burnley. He tends to play well. And this is the first time I've ever seen Conte make early subs and go, do you know what, this game's over. Let me try and get people in for a rest. And that's what even Son needs to understand, because he's been luxury for the last how many weeks where Conte's looked at the bench and went, I can't change it. So we don't need to create problems. It was a great win. But Conte's not like us fans. He's not thinking about the North London derby. He's got that game out of the way. He's now thinking about Burnley and Norwich. They're his next steps. He's thinking about fourth spot. That's what he's coming to do. And if he achieves that with this squad, it's going to be a bigger achievement than probably winning the league with Chelsea, because Chelsea were the best team then. They had the best players. But he's come to this team who don't really win much and haven't qualified for Champions League for a very long time now. And he's going, I'm going to do something with this team.
Yeah, it just made me laugh. Honestly, Marlon, I was sitting there thinking, okay, it wasn't 1-0. It wasn't close. It wasn't like taking off Son against a 10-man Arsenal team. And by that point, they've been playing with 10 men for, a good hour.
Exactly.
Right? They had nothing on. They had no attempts. From what I can remember in the second half, I think Marlon might have sort of kind of dribbled one at the keeper from 20 yards. It all felt a bit easy. And for me, what I was saying was, make some subs. I would like, mate, give Matthew Craig, give him a debut or something.
No, yeah, exactly.
And what a fortunate position to be in a North London derby, in a must-win, and we cruised it, and yet still people crucified him. Now, I will crucify Conte when he doesn't make substitutions and we need to, but that's not Conte, Marlon. That's anyone who's in the dugout. Yeah. But just before I come to my next question to you, let's get through some of the comments. So we've got True Blue has said Reggie is chaos.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. Yeah, he's a chaos kind of left back, and he was the same when he was at Seville on loan, but it just worked in their system at the time. But for us and Premier League football, completely different, and that's sometimes what is sometimes holds him back.
Especially in a formation, Marlon, that actually relies on the wing backs. When you're playing 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1, the fullbacks are there, but they're not the focal point of your team. Yeah. When you play wing backs, all the eyes now are on, and it has highlighted this year how they're not good enough. Amzo has said, big up Savva Marlon. Yep. So it's the only reason I do podcasts. I like being bigged up. It's always bigged up. Okay, so Daryl says, just in, Conte confirms Romero's season is over. Marlon, talk to me about this. For me, if this had happened 10 games ago, I would have been worried.
Yes.
Home to Burnley, away to Norwich. I'm sorry, it shouldn't matter which centre-halves we put out against those guys. I'm not concerned. Are you?
No, because you got to remember, we had a chunk of the season when Conte first turned up. He didn't have Romero to pick anyway, and we were still winning games with Dyer, Davis, and Sanchez. Actually, that game last night for Sanchez and the shaky start and getting back into the groove of things, he's going to have to play these last two games, was probably the best scenario for him to be in, instead of coming in against Burnley and then it all being Sanchez as he is. So, but no, it's come at the right time if he's going to get injured.
Yeah,
if there is ever a right time.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not worried about Norwich at all. Norwich, for me, if there should be no excuses. If we don't go to Norwich and stick 5 past them, I'll be truly disappointed. They are woeful. I suppose my only concern, and I'm going to contradict myself here. My only concern with Romero being out is Weghorst in the air, but I can't be contradictory. I do feel that Romero's weakness is he's not great in the air. So for me, they've got to work out who's taking him. Dyer, Sanchez. Who's taking him? And if you can't win the ball, just make it difficult for him to make contact.
Which Sanchez will do. He's better in the air than he's at his feet. The only thing that worries me is that if Weghorst does get it at his feet, that's where he's going to get more joy, because our defenders ain't really great with players like that. Yeah. So that's what worries me more than anything. But, it depends what Burnley turn up at the weekend. Yeah,
look, I'll be disappointed again. I mean, they just got beaten 3-1 at home by Aston Villa, who were in no form. Oh, yeah. I'll be honest. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll leave our predictions for the last 2 games to a bit. Perchy, big up to yourself as well.
My main man, Perchy.
Mate, message me, get my number off someone, or message me on YouTube and we'll sort out a show. He was smart to take Son off, rest him for the battle ahead. I agree.
Great.
Bermondsey born and bred out. We won't make top 4. Marlon, park this. We'll talk about this in a little bit. Arsenal were terrible that game. It wasn't needed to go all out. Yeah, there was. For me, I don't understand. It wasn't as though goal difference was a factor. Our goal difference, they can't. If I remember rightly, they can't catch that right unless they win their last 2 games like 12-0 each or something. I don't know.
They might do it against Everton.
right, yeah. Oh, don't. I rated when he made subs, comfortably done, beat Burnley, and it's on. Yeah, look. I've said for a long time, Marlon. Don't know about you, that there were fans 10, 15 games ago getting way too excited, saying, "Oh, it will all be done by the North London derby." Yeah. And I maintained this is going to game 38.
Yeah.
Were you of the same opinion?
Yeah, no. When I saw that, especially when Arsenal went through their bad run, it was kind of a case of you could see we weren't going to get beat. You could see I could see the Brentford game being a ball draw. The Brighton game completely just threw me off. But yeah, I probably could see it was always going to go down to game 38 from just before that last international break. Yeah, it's what everyone wanted, and you just knew it was going to happen. So game 38 is still where it lies.
Yeah, and I just don't. My opinion back then was I didn't feel either team was capable of putting it to bed.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what both teams have done. Because if you would have looked weeks ago, Arsenal had the chance to put it to bed, and then we've had chances to put it to bed, and then it's swapped again, and they both just haven't taken their chance.
But do you know the funny thing about this is, I say funny, ironically, is just a point against Brighton or one more goal or a goal against Brentford for 3 points. And all of a sudden now we're sitting here going, well, top 4's done, right?
Yeah.
And this is why when all these people are coming out and going, oh, he couldn't have tried anything to try and change those games. That's why I was saying you have to do something, because if we don't get top 4, for me, it will very much hinge on those 2 games and Wolves and Southampton at home.
But then Arsenal could look at it the same as well. Like, let's be honest about the situation. Like, Brighton, Southampton games, they shouldn't be losing them, and they had chances and they didn't take them. And they're in the same boat as us. I think what's been consistent about Spurs and Arsenal this year is that they've just been terrible in games they should have won.
Right, mate. This is what I've said all season. I don't. For me, I'll go back to this. You can. I'm not saying we won't get top 4, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but if we do not get top 4, I think it's a tragedy, not that we didn't get 4th, but that we finished below this Arsenal team, with all due respect to the young lad, but with Eddie Nketiah as their main striker. That for me will show just how bad it's been. But we'll come to that in a minute. Dave Clark has said, don't worry, lads. Us mighty Magpies will take care of Arsenal on Monday. Spurs for Champions League. Toon, Black and White Army. Dave, I hope your boys are not on the beach already in their heads.
Yeah.
We will all have our metaphorical Newcastle shirts out the cupboard on Monday night.
Got a question for Dave, actually, why thinking about it.
Go for it.
If for Newcastle, obviously with the money and everything like that, who's more of a threat long term if they were to make Champions League football, Spurs or Arsenal? Because obviously they're going to have to pick one of us for that spot. Does he think that Spurs will cause a longer threat, or would it be easier for Arsenal to get it next year? Because actually Arsenal ain't going to cause a longer threat than probably what Spurs will do under Conte. Question for Dave, that is.
I like that. Good question. Question of the day. Didn't even wait for anyone else to praise him. He just praised his own question. Question of the day. All right. Yeah, Dave, if you can give us a response, I know you will. Pete, say hello to Harry. He's getting the raving up, having to listen. Is that Harry the Gooner? All right. Hello, Harry. Luca has said Sanchez may well prove to be better against Burnley and Weghorst. Right? Yeah, could do. Sanchez, I've been critical of, was brilliant, to be fair. Yeah. I mean, for me, it was difficult yesterday rating the defenders because I truly felt that after like the goal, I felt like Arsenal weren't in the game. But look, they did what they had to do, right? They did what they had to do.
And that's the thing you have to give them praise for. If they're doing the job they have to do and they're doing it correctly, especially when we've seen times in the past where they conceded goals. But they stuck to their job. And even though they went down to 10 men and the concentration probably stopped, they were 100% focused on the job at hand.
Yep. Full Ball said that need the same atmosphere this weekend to get the boys fired up again. Yeah, listen, I think that what we've got to make sure is that we don't just have this amazing atmosphere for Arsenal or Liverpool. It needs to be before these type of games as well. Luca, True Blue Yeti plays part in the third goal. Nice pass to Kane. Coach Silver said, what a game, what an atmosphere. Arsenal made it easy for us because of their lack of discipline. Then they blame the refs. Seen some refs saying Holding shouldn't have been sent off. Marlon, for me, in that game, he could have had 2 red cards, right? I can tell me what you think, mate. I could understand what Arteta was trying to do. I think he knew that they didn't have enough goal power to hurt us. So it's let's get in, let's ruffle up Son because Son is prone to reacting. Yes, I see what they were trying to do, but was that their undoing in the end?
Yes. I still, because I was literally in line with when Holding done it yesterday. And when the ball went over, I looked at him and he looks up and he literally means to do what he did. And I looked at it and I went, if that was a schoolboy football, as they say, the teacher or anything would have gone straight into them and what are you doing? It's any Arsenal fan that wants to sit there and say he never meant it. Just look at his eyes before he leans into him. Yeah. Son literally looks, he sees the ball, he turns around but he's on his bike. So he can't see it. But actually it's the way Holding steps into him and literally puts his elbow in. And for me, I was very surprised that VAR didn't go back and cancel the yellow card and actually just give him a straight red. But it was definitely insane. And it weren't like there was 3 tackles that he had made on Son, which the referee was like, no, I've got to give you a booking. And that's the first one. They literally, and I said this last week on another podcast, that the thing for me is we could get Son against Holding, that is where Arsenal are going to falter because Holding is just not good enough. And you could see in the last couple of games where Arsenal have had it easy. Arsenal have had 4 easy games, apart from the West Ham one. They've had 4 easy games where they haven't been tested. Last night was always going to be tough for them because we were going to be up against it. And
I mean, look, we'll come to that in a minute. I'll go through these, but look, I can't disagree with any of that. I think, look, Holding did make it easier for us. I truly actually believe that had they have kept 11 men on the pitch, and hear me out, I think we would have scored more. Because
I said the same thing.
Right? Because I think it got to the stage where at 3-0, they've got 10 men and aren't attacking. They've not sat in, but we forced them back. And it's kind of like, okay, well, we're good. We're done. I believe if they had 11 men on the pitch, in the second half, they would have had to come out from 2-0 down. And then I believe we would have just picked them off on the counter.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I thought. I thought if they would have had 11 men, because once they went to 10, they went into that situation where they were like, it's damage limitations here. We can't concede goals. So they're going to have to defend. And the one thing that Spurs' problem's been is breaking down teams. And even yesterday, we did struggle in the second half to break them down.
Yeah, we did.
But that's because they sat there. But could you imagine if they did have to come out? Say it was still 1-0 at half time.
Yeah.
All right. The Newcastle, when we played them, the same thing. Everton, when we played them, we would have just completely opened them up. And now,
I agree.
And that's probably what would have happened. And it probably would have been 3, 4, 5. And it could have been it would have been a lot worse. I think he's actually might have done Arsenal a favour.
I actually agree in a strange way, because I think when people are going, we should have gone for the jugular, we should have gone for 6 or 7. I don't want to say the average football fan, that's really disrespectful. I don't think most football fans actually think, when a team puts that many men behind the ball, you can't just open the lock really easily unless you're, Man City, Liverpool. These teams are used to doing this week in, week out when teams put 10 men behind the ball. Spurs don't quite have that guile and that craft to open teams up like that, which is why we play on the counter most of the time, right? So I truly believe that Arsenal actually having a man sent off, it kind of killed the game for them, but also meant that they weren't humiliated. Yeah. So Carl Simpson said it was right to take Son off. This is a team game and he wanted him fit. Agreed. I don't get all the crying about Heung-min Son coming off from fans. God, he didn't play for 15 minutes. It's okay. We won 3-0. Thoughts on Arteta and the Arsenal fans blaming the ref? Marlon, go.
And do you know what? The thing that gets me the most is, right, everyone's talking about the penalty and saying how soft it is. So my theory is, if it's a foul, it's a penalty, right? But what makes the whole thing worse is that there's referees coming out. There's everyone in the media going, it's soft, right? Are we now the next time Tini comes out, he's not going to give a foul to the next team, and it's the rules. And my thing is, this is why our refereeing systems is gone. This is why we're so bad. The FA need to sort this out, because if it was against us, I remember last year at the Emirates when Davinson Sanchez went in for the slide tackle against Lacazette, and Lacazette kicks him, and it's a penalty. And a lot of people said, Sanchez shouldn't have put him in that position and this, that, and the other. But it wasn't a penalty, but he gave it. Arsenal fans weren't crying then. But yet, this is a foul. It's a foul. No matter if it's soft or not, you have to give it as a foul, because if it happens outside the box, it's given. Right? So what? If we had David Beckham, or Ward-Prowse, and it's given as a free kick, you're going to say, no, hold on, because it's a foul. And that's the problem. Yeah. It's a foul in the box. You've got to give it. And even Gary Neville said yesterday, I've done this a million times, but the way he's done it, you've blatantly given the ref the thing. And someone said, you should just let Son head it. And he should have probably just let Son head it. It's madness. For me,
this is where it's about good defenders know how to play the system.
Yes.
Good defenders know, do I go steaming in, or I'm so far away from my goal, what's the worst thing if I actually let my guy win the ball and step back so I'm ready for what happens next? I just don't think, and that was my mate texted me last night. He's an Arsenal season to get older, and he went, Savva, the way you talk about players like Royal and Winks and Sessegnon and Sanchez and that, he said, mate, we've got players like Holding and Tavares, and he said that's why both our teams are wildly inconsistent. Yeah. And he said the difference is you guys have got Kane and Son. I was like, yeah, fair enough. Johnny Be Good, you were right, Sam. Johnny Be Good, didn't you? And listen, for me, I will sweep anything under the carpet. Didn't you come into my YouTube channel comments after my stream the other night, calling me out for being racist and favouring white footballers and telling me you were going to unsubscribe from the channel and that I didn't understand about systemic racism? I'm just seeing if you're the right person. Welcome back. Please subscribe again if you haven't, and I'm glad you're in the feed. Perchy, boys, I have to shoot. Marlon, I'll message you on Twitter to pass over my details to Savva. Fair enough. Luca 14, they're like children. Arteta, their players and plenty of their fans. Yep. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to watch Arsenal Fan TV yet after last night.
I've only watched one. I've only watched Robbie because I was quite surprised he wasn't at the game. But
yeah, I'll have to give that a watch when I get 5 minutes to have a laugh. I think Newcastle will be up for it, as some players will be playing for their futures, knowing a big summer ahead. I see Arsenal also have Granit out due to 10 yellow cards. I keep hearing different about this. Is Xhaka suspended or not? I keep hearing two stories.
I thought they got rid of the criteria.
Yeah, I did.
Second part, but you might be right. I think.
Can someone find out for us? Someone find out. Dave, hello mate, welcome back. Some of the Arsenal fans' reactions have been priceless, enjoying the saltiness and delusions. Now, Dave, I'm going to agree with you, but I'm going to caveat. You know, I like to caveat things. Yes, it's been wonderful to see, but how gutting will it be in a week and a half's time? Is it a week? No, a week and 2 days.
Yeah.
The final day of the season. No matter what we did to them last night, imagine this team celebrating top 4 and we don't. That, for me, can you imagine the abuse and the banter we are going to get from this Arsenal bunch? I'll cry. They're all like gremlins. Okay, guys, get some questions in as well. Hi, guys. Was the game last night? Atmosphere incredible. Yeah. Dave Clark, I think, might have answered your question here. Let's see. I've lost it. Dave Clark. We don't look at Arsenal or Spurs as a threat, really. We're going for City and Liverpool. I mean,
brilliant answer.
The phrase "running before you can walk" springs to mind. Dave, I love it. Listen, I love that ambition.
No, brilliant.
Love it. Johnny, be good. Exactly, Savva. I agree on the 11 versus 10 men argument. Dave Clark, sorry for the late replies. I'm supposed to be working, but in seriousness, I look at Arsenal and Spurs the same when it comes to being a threat. Both good teams that could go either way. Yep. Stephanie Iyer said, because some people are Sun fans, not Spurs fans. They would rather Sun get the golden boot than Spurs get top 4. Unfortunately, Stephanie, I kind of agree with you. Marlon, talk to me about this. Let me bring you in on this. I feel like lots of clubs have got to this stage, not just Spurs fans, where I saw this a lot with Ndombele. So what's it called? The little picture you get on Twitter. What's your handle?
Yeah, a handle, yeah.
I saw lots of people, they'd have Ndombele or they'd have Lo Celso or Sanchez. And they seem to fight the battle more about the individual rather than what was going on with the club. Now, that's not just Spurs. I see it across all teams. But we seem to have a section of our fan base that they seem more intent on Kane getting Shearer's record rather than Spurs winning trophies. They seem more intent on Son beating Salah to Golden Boot rather than top 4. So, I keep hearing, if we get a penalty on the last day of the season and we need it to score to get Champions League, do we let Son take it so he can beat Salah? No. What isn't Kane like one of the best penalty takers in world football? Where do you sit with all of this, Marlon? Talk to me. Educate me.
It's when it comes to Spurs fans, I think it's because, let's be honest, we don't have a lot to celebrate when it comes to trophies. So individual awards is what we've been playing for the last 5-6 years. You know, we'd all love to see Kane beat the record, but for Kane, he wants a trophy. I think he prefers if he got a trophy out of it than the records.
Yeah.
Son yesterday, I think he personally wants to beat Salah. And it's more of a selfishness this year because this probably is his best season in the Spurs shirt as an individual, for him as an individual. And if he actually beats Salah, you know, he's thinking for the first time, he's going to be spoken about in the media because that's the thing. He always gets under the radar. And I'm quite glad actually the Player of the Year was that his name is in it this year because he deserves to be in that conversation. And I won't be surprised if he ends up in the top 3 because a lot of players rate him this year.
I think he will be, yeah. I think he'll be up there.
But it's more of I think with Spurs, for Spurs and a lot of clubs, you might not get it with the Liverpools and Cities, but because there's no trophy, it's all about individual awards and making sure that actually when you look at it,
Yeah.
we can go, but we might not have won this, we might finish here, but Kane finished on 40 goals. Oh, that's incredible. Look how great this player is and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And the modern day fan gets more attached to players
Than the club.
than the club. And that's what it's become. And that's, if I'm being honest, that's if a bid was to come in for Son in the summer, Daniel Levy's not thinking about what he contributes to Tottenham as a player. He'll be thinking about commercially what he could contribute, and that's what it is.
So here's a question off the back of that.
Yeah,
he didn't want to sell Kane unless the money was extortionate, and you can understand why, because Kane is not only our centre forward, but he drops deep and turns into our playmaker. And even last night against 10 men, you kept seeing Kane come into the halfway line to pick up the ball. So my question to you is this. If an offer was to come in for Son this summer, now take your hat off as a Spurs fan. I'm not talking about us as fans because we don't want him to leave. A bid comes in for, what is he, 30?
He's going to be 30 this summer, yeah.
He's 30 this summer. So a bid comes in for Heung-min Son at 110.
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying he's worth that or more or less. 110 million. Liverpool whack down, or Bayern or Madrid. Does Daniel Levy go, hang on, 30 years of age, 110 million, I can buy more wide forwards? Or does he do the Kane route and go, no, 150 or not ever him? What do you reckon? This will stir a few people in the chat.
It's a tough one. It is a tough one. For me, Spurs hat off. And if I was a businessman, I would take it. However, where I'm going to go against me is if Spurs are ambitious and they are going to back Conte, you don't sell play. You do what other players have done, like Ruud van Nistelrooy, where you sell them at the right time. When Fergie was done with players, he wouldn't sell them at their prime. He'd sell them when they were on their way down, and he wouldn't get a big fee for them because he's already got the commercial value and the winning, the trophies and everything like that. And for me, Son is still there, and it's not the right, especially with the way he's played this season. He's improved, and it's one of them. Probably not this year, but you'd look at it the year after and go, if Conte is backed, this is the other thing though, if Conte is backed with the players he wants, you can't get rid of players like Kane and Son right now when the two of them are worth more to be at the club right now and what we're trying to do than we would sell, because you can sell him for 110 million, but if we finish 6th or 7th because we're trying to rebuild up front again in the forward line, say we can't bring that player, it's Spurs, and that player comes in and needs time to settle or doesn't, if we don't get another Kulu, what do you do? And I said this last summer, the reason, for me, if we get Champions League football this season, not selling Kane for 100 million odd is the best decision Daniel Levy has made, because it's going to be worth more to the club for us getting Champions League football than it was to sell him to Man City.
Do you know what? I was having this conversation last summer, Marlon, with certain people, not Twitter conversations. And I'd just like to say, for anyone that doesn't believe me, by the way, I've been off Twitter now for a very long time. And Marlon,
just bring up Coach Silver's thing as well, because this will be quite funny.
Which one?
We won't be selling Son as we're on tour. It'd be an awkward situation if we were
right. Okay, I'll get to that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put out there. I keep even last night. I got some of my mates on a WhatsApp chat sent me through. Savva, is this your account on Twitter? This person's saying they're Savva. It sounds exactly like you. Can I just say, for the bit, I don't have a Twitter account. So if you hear from anybody, all these know-it-alls who think they know me because they argued with me a few times and I told them to fuck off or whatever, doesn't mean they know me. I don't have a Twitter account. But yes, we'll get to that in a minute. JG, Player FC is a thing. It is, and it is too much. Now, Marlon, the thing for me was, and the point I was getting at is, when I was speaking to people last year, I said, if 125 million bid came in for Harry Kane last summer and we were Chelsea, City, Liverpool, I'd sell.
Yeah.
Because I know that my owners and scouts are going to go out there and go, oh, we can get two 60 million pound players like Diaz, Marit, those type of players, and you're good. The problem with Spurs is, even if someone said, okay, he's 150 million for Harry Kane, our club will not go and buy anybody. Now, I'm not saying somebody of Kane's caliber will come to us, but we won't even go and buy anyone remotely close to that. We would go and buy a Danny Ings. We would go and buy an Ivan Toney. Now, I'm not saying they're bad players, but in terms of replacing Kane or Son, we wouldn't do it. Just quickly, speaking of Son over Salah, where is Son over Salah? He must be at school. I've missed him today. We had to win yesterday because it's the only way to really be Spursy and bottle it v Burnley on the last game of the season. Dude, stop. Just stop. Okay, I don't know if that's aimed at me, but I don't know.
It could be aimed at me.
What? Just stop the... Just stop the channel. Just stop podcasting. Just stop.
I know. I think he's...
Sell Son, he is getting up there in age. Okay. He'll be 29. Yeah. Now, this is where it becomes interesting. If Son's got 2 years left on his contract, and from this summer, won't Kane have 2 years left?
Yeah, they've both got the same amount of years left.
Okay, let's have this chat, Marlon. We've got 15 minutes to go. Let's have this chat.
You're going to put me in a situation now.
Guys, get your thoughts into the conversation. Now, football is very much about right nowism, isn't it? I think football fans are very much, oh my God, this player had a great game. He's worth 100 million. Forget whatever else has happened. Now, Tottenham are going to be in a position where if we're right, someone will tell us if we're wrong. Don't worry about that, Marlon. You know how this game works. Son and Kane both got 2 years left on their contract. If we get back to the point where they've got a year left, how much money are we then getting for 30, 31-year-olds as opposed to if you sell them now when they're 28, 29? Now, I'm not advocating selling them. I'm just saying, do we then get to the point where we go, shit, we've lost Kane and Son for basically on a free or 30, 40 million between them? We've won nothing. We've got nothing to show for their time here.
Don't say that. That's the bit I was going to say. You just don't know what's going to happen next year.
Right. Yeah. Now, so my point is, this could only happen at Spurs because bigger clubs, they'll go, all right, cool, we'll get rid of them. We'll bring in other people. This club go, right, well, without these two, we are nothing. So what conundrum are we in? Is it something we have to worry about now? Is this something we park for a year and they're worth less? Does one of them get some? All these questions, Marlon. Figure them out. Go.
So I would go a year and go into the last year of the contract and take less. And I'm going to explain why.
Yep.
Because Spurs financially don't need the money right now. But like you said earlier, we're not going to bring in the players to replace them straight away. And the reason why I'm saying this is if we sold them now, it's a wrong time, and the reason for that is since Pochettino left, we have wasted, and that's how it's going to be. We have wasted the last 3 or 4 seasons firing managers, not changing the squad up, and that's detrimental to what we're trying to do. If Kane and Son were now at the top of their game and we were a better equipped squad, I would sit there and go, you know what, take the money, because now we're still making Champions League. We can still attract them players around the world have seen that we can make it every season. Yeah, we've got a top manager who's been there 3 or 4 years because we won't be changing every week. Then I'd go yes, and maybe we would have had a trophy in the bag. But the last 3 or 4 years have made it that we have to not think about the money we're going to be recuperating, right, and think about actually what's going to go on that pitch. Because if Daniel Levy's done the right job as he's supposed to, the stadium's going to generate money, off the field should generate the money. So we shouldn't be worrying about player sales money to kind of to go with what we're buying, right? Yep. And if the Levy in crowd, as I call it, as everyone likes to call them, or what they are, if they're right, then we don't need to sell the likes of Kane and Son now, because actually it doesn't affect what we do in the transfer market for buying, as long as we can get the player out.
Yeah. Mate, listen, I agree with all that. And just for anyone who's saying, yeah, definitely keep. I'm not advocating at all, by the way, selling either of them. I'm just trying to.
Terrible question.
I'm trying to remove my Spurs hat and think, okay, what does Levy want? Second of all, I think it's about player succession. I think somebody has said this, like Darryl has said, we need a plan for succession. Now, this is the key thing for me. The point I'm trying to drive at, Marlon, is what we don't want to do is get 2 years down the line, both go, and we're like, Jesus, we've got no one. Now, what we've seen for the last 4, 5, 6 years is it's been Kane, Son, Kane, Son, Kane, Son. No one else has been up there chipping in anywhere near the amount they can. And we have a bunch of fans who don't think you can buy anybody because no one apparently will sit on a bench, even though Liverpool and City have star-studded benches. So
I'll counteract that argument about City and Liverpool. So I've heard a lot about Liverpool and their star-studded bench, but let's go back to when they won the league and Champions League.
Yep.
Their bench was Origi.
Yep.
Minamino only came in the league season.
Yep.
They had Gomez and Matip, who were both injured, so they were the only two that came in. They literally didn't have a bench, but they had a great starting 11. And the only reason why
I'm not saying then, Marlon, I'm saying now.
But the only reason why they've got the bench now, and the reason why they can do it, and this is why the other teams will struggle, is because both them clubs are winning trophies. Okay, Man City can offer the money.
Agreed.
Right, and if you can get a trophy in the bag, then you can start, and players will be like, actually, I will go and try, because I will get games. They're in for every trophy and things like that. But when you look at the Spurs, Arsenal, Man United to a certain extent, but if Man United have suffered because they're not winning trophies now, and their bench is their first 11's gone. But this is the problem, and because we are Spurs, I feel like sometimes we have to kind of get, and this is why I was a bit like, if the Dybala was going to come, do you really ruin the Kulusevski, Kane and Son thing by swapping that about when you see Salah, Mane and Firmino played every week for 2 years?
True. I think the difficulty to that is, if we've got Kane and Son that are going to be 29 and 30 or whatever this window,
the age kind of falls into it. But
I think we've got to. For me, it's about in games when we're not winning, we don't have any way of mixing it up. So if Kane or Son, I'm not going to bring Kulu into that conversation just yet because he's just joined. But if Kane or Son are having a bad game, we've got no one that we can go to the bench and go, right, here's another striker. And I'm not counting Bergwijn and Lucas. Sorry. I mean, proper centre forwards, wide forwards. Like if you look at Liverpool now with Diaz, Salah, Mane, Firmino, Jota, granted, they're winning things or challenging, so it makes it better to get those easier to get those players in. But what I do feel we need moving forward, especially if we're going to be playing Champions League football or even Europa League and playing Thursday. For me, I've never understood when people go Thursday, Sunday, because it was the same as Wednesday, Saturday. It makes no difference. But the fact is you're playing twice a week, and I feel that the club does need at some point to, even if it's one to begin with, get somebody else in. Maybe someone who's 20, 21, an up and coming, maybe someone like someone like an Alexander Isaac, but someone like a Berardi of Sassuolo. Someone that won't necessarily come in and think, I have to start all 50 games in the season.
Yeah.
But you can rotate. You can get different formations out of them. You've got someone to bring on. It might be a case that we can turn around one midweek game and go, right, Kane, you don't need to play this one. Yeah. And that for me has been more about when I'm talking about the squad and building up the players.
But it's just, and it's for us, it is finding that gem that we can get the 21 or 22-year-old. And unfortunately for us, we haven't had a transfer policy.
No, that is true.
and that's the biggest argument of, first, we've got to persuade a 21 and 22-year-old to come to a club like Spurs, right? And when I say it like that, it's not a case of we're not as big as we think we are. Let's be open and honest, right?
I agree.
So there's a pool of players that we can really realistically attract.
Agree.
Right? But then it's also finding that gem that will like the guy who's just gone from Leipzig to Dortmund. He probably would have been perfect kind of player to come in.
Right.
Yeah.
Dortmund don't mess about.
No.
This is what I love about Dortmund. They're not licking their wounds that they've lost Haaland. They knew it was happening, And already, bish, bash, bosh, player in, done. Now, just quickly, I want to address this. So yeah, Darryl said whoever we get after Kane and Son will be steps down. Yes, in the short term, they will be. Who do you think can replace Son and Kane? Now, for me, Marlon, I don't know about you, and just quickly, we've got 5 minutes to go, people. Please subscribe, like the show, subscribe to Marlon, subscribe to me. Desperately trying to get my subscribers back to where it was. Marlon, for me, it's not about immediately replacing Son and Kane. I don't think Spurs don't have the pull to go out there and buy a £100 million forward that can immediately test Son and Kane.
Nope.
For me, it's about getting somebody that you go, cool, in a couple of years, that he's going to be brilliant, but can still do a job now. I'm not talking Papa Sars and Gills. I'm talking about someone who's doing it and you think will get better. The way that Liverpool went and got Jota from Wolves.
Well, that's a very good point, because I look at it as, and he's saying who can replace Kane and Son. But if I said to you, who can replace Salah and Mane, you would have probably gone nobody. But they still went and got Jota, Diaz, because you can actually see what Diaz is going to bring to them long term.
Oh, wow,
And actually, I've been looking at it. He's a better player now than what Mane was at the same age.
Agreed, yeah.
So it's a case of let them play together. And then, like they did with Coutinho was there with Salah, Firmino and Mane. Everyone forgets that. So Coutinho was still there when they had the four of them. And he was they could, you can go for 130 million. We can improve our defense and goalkeeper.
Right. So, yeah.
So it's a case of,
this is what we should have done with Dele Alli years ago. Do you know what? I said this years ago, and I got. You can imagine. You saw the shit I used to get on Twitter. I got massacred for saying this a few years back. I said,
I probably would have thrown rocks at you too then.
Right, true. But I turned around and I said, one of Eriksen or Ali, whilst they're at their peak, go and get 120 million from them. From one of them.
Dele Alli.
But again, I caveat that by saying I would always caveat at the time with, do I trust the owners to bring in other players? But look, you're right. When you look at Jota for what was he, 38 million, 40 million?
And everyone moaned at Liverpool, right. And everyone was moaning, but
right. Then you look at them doing what, 45 million Diaz? Now, if you've got good scouts and if you watch all the other leagues in the world, and this is what I don't think a lot of fans do, there are players everywhere, right? It's about, for me, Spurs need to go and get somebody that fills that mold. Because if we're not going to play playmakers, if we're going to continue with this 3-4-3, you've got to make sure that when the front three isn't performing, that you're not bringing on Bergwijns and Lucases. They're as average as it gets for me. But you need to be bringing on, look at Liverpool the other night. All right, it's not working. We'll take off Jota and bring on, take off Diaz and bring on Jota, whatever they did.
Yeah.
And you just go, wow. You know, and we've got to get there. And I'm not saying to their level yet, but I feel that we've got to start looking at doing that across the pitch.
Well, let's look at one positive. Let's look at one positive in the January transfer window.
Yeah.
Forget Bentancur and Kulu. They were great signings. But you have to remember, we were the ones who pretty much signed Diaz for Liverpool. And the fact that we were the ones who got Liverpool the 45 million down to the negotiation fee, and the fact we were looking at Diaz and Diaz was ready to come, for me, it just says at least now we're looking at the right sort of players. So that's three players that we were looking. Well, I don't know if we were looking at Bentancur and Kulu long term, but that's three. We were looking at Diaz. We've got Bentancur and we've got Kulu. That's three players that have come into the Premier League in January and have been exceptional. All three, right?
Yeah.
And Diaz is settled as well at Liverpool.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm hoping that Paratici has looked at what he brought in the summer and gone, actually, none of them were suited to the Premier League. I need more players like Romero. Yeah. Royale is a totally different kettle of fish. You know, the guy
let's not talk about Royale.
He can defend, but there's nothing more to his game. Right?
Yeah.
But if you look at, if he's looked at January and gone, okay, actually, this is different. This is totally different to what I'm expecting. Hopefully this summer, especially with Conte previously been here and worked with Moses and Alonso. Moses' career was going down. Conte knows what sort of player will make it in the Premier League.
I agree with you. That's why this is going to be a very interesting summer to watch. Listen, Marlon, I am going to wrap it up there, but I've got one more question before we go. I've got one more question, and it's got to be a yes or a no. Are we getting top 4?
No.
Oh,
no.
Oh, he's gone no.
No.
He's gone no. I'm going to try and be positive. I'm going to say yes. Now, whether I believe that or not, you can probably see from my grin. I'm not sure. But
you've been way too positive today, Sam. I'm not sure I'm talking to the right guy.
You know what? The thing is, I'm not always negative. I called it as I see it at the time. As I've said all the way along, can we get top 4? Yes. Will we? I don't know. I'm sitting on that fence because it's not in our hands. So look, Marlon, you've been a pleasure, mate. I love your views on football. Everyone, if you haven't, please do subscribe to Marlon and the Hotspur Hood. Look, thank you very much, mate. Let's catch up. We'll do another show in a couple of weeks when the season finishes. Thank you very much to everyone in the comments. Hopefully we got round to all of your comments. Can't do this without you lot. And enjoy your Fridays. Go and get drunk, whatever you want to do. Have fun. Much love. See you later.
See ya.
Cheers.